Hello, everyone. How are you? It has been a minute for since I came on here to do, my hair keeps flying in my face. Since I came on here to talk about my GLP-1 journey, and I am about to start month 6. And so if you started watching me and I was trying to do weekly, and I knew inside, I knew y'all that is Kenya really gonna do it every week? I knew that that probably wouldn't be the case, but I'm about to start. I'm releasing this on June 1st, and June 1 equals the start of my sixth month. And so I want to share with you, here's what GLP-1 has actually taught me. And I think that's why I took a pause, because I wanted to be more in the moment, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But welcome. If you are new to my channel, thank you. Yay. If you've been following my astrology shorts, because I know that's mostly what I've been posting, thank you for watching them. If you've been wanting to hear more on my GLP-1 journey, then you landed right in the right spot. If you've been with me all along, you're part of the gang, part of the tribe since I really got into my music and all my music videos. I'm so glad you are also still following me on this journey. And wow. These past 5 months, so it's been 5 months. June 1 starts my 6 month. So we're not quite at 6 months. We've just completed 5 months. And I know GLP-1 right now is mostly known for weight loss, but that's kind of what I want to talk about today. I want to see if I can help you all understand this differently for those of you who don't necessarily aren't on a GLP-1. Those who are on a GLP-1, you're probably already gonna, this is already gonna resonate with you, what I'm about to say. But yeah, there's some aha moments that have really been happening. And I know that weight loss is kind of what we assume GLP-1 is all about. I think many even think that GLP-1s were created for weight loss. And if you're not following the GLP-1 map, or you're not on a GLP-1, or that's not a part of your journey, I could see why you would think that, but my goodness, I'm hoping that today and in this video and any other future videos that I do or conversations that I have about this journey, you will see it bigger than that. And you will see it in terms of mental health. You will see it in terms of physiology and the actual mechanisms that happen in the body, and that you will see the humanity of it all and the necessity for some, right? I don't think everybody's journey is the same, obviously, but to be able to have a deeper appreciation than just weight. So I'm going to share my aha moments, like what actually happened. Now, I wrote notes, y'all, and they're on my screen because it's too much to remember. But again, those of you who are new, you don't know me, you're like, who are you? My name is Kenya, and I am a creative who publishes my creations. We're all creatives in my belief system. We're all creating all day, every day. I just happen to publish mine, meaning I make them more public, what I'm creating. And so my creativity leads me in the realm of arts as an artist, as a musician, and some other things that I'm working on now that are not music, but still publishable art that I can't talk about quite yet. But also, I'm an educator, I'm an assistant professor. So that's a role that I play. It's not who the heart I am, but it is a very important role and one that I really value. Another really valuable role for me is being a mother and a wife and a sister and a daughter and an auntie and all those things and a friend. I also am an astrologer, and I consider myself a mystic, spiritualist who is fascinated daily by this human experiment and experience and journey. And so I do a lot in that space as well, to not only expand my own understandings of things, but to help others who want to understand life and their own lives and remember themselves more deeply. And so I do that in my company, Finding Your Voice. And that's a space where I work primarily with women to do that. So those are kind of my roles, but who I am as at a heart, obviously I feel that I am an artist, a creative, where healing and transformation is really valued. And the other big part is I'm a woman, a Black woman, and who carries a lot of ancestral generational things. So yeah, that's me. Okay, so subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. So what I want to do, as I said, I wrote notes. I want to talk to you about these ahas. Because y'all, these ahas were this is I thought that this was really going to be about me losing weight. And that, yes, by losing weight, I will now be able to fit the clothes I want to wear. I'll be more comfortable. I'll feel more healthy. All the things that I think that goes along with the assumptions of weight loss, right? I studied GLP-1 a lot before deciding to do it. The thing that made me really trust initiating this process was one, I was becoming obsessed with how horrible I was feeling about the body that I was in. And I know this body is doing a lot for me. And I didn't like the shame and the dismissal and the denial and all the things that were going around with that. So I was desperate to be in better alignment. And this is why I've been calling this an alignment journey whenever I talk about this, because it wasn't so much of, oh, I want to be new as much as I want to be in alignment with who I know I am. And my body is, I'm not feeling like I'm respecting her fully because not because she's done anything wrong, but because I'm not understanding her and I'm not understanding and I'm feeling out of place. And so that really drove this for me to really, and then health wise, I knew that's part of my aha, honestly. Ahas is really, for the first time, really understanding what my body is attempting to say to me. I couldn't hear her fully, and I didn't realize how much she was fighting for and still fight. I'm in progress, y'all. I'm 5 months in. I just so that you know, I've lost since day one of the GLP-1 and since I weighed last about 17 and a half pounds in the past 5 months. So I'm on kind of like an average of a little bit more than 3 pounds a month, a little slightly. Like first month was a big weight loss because you're just starting it. I think that was 6 pounds in that first month, or 5 pounds, 6 or 5. In the second month, it was like 2 pounds. But then thereafter, it's been on average around 3 pounds a month, which feels really good to me. I still am on the quest. I definitely want to. I started my heaviest weight was actually April of 2025, and I was approaching 240. When I started the GLP-1, I was around almost 232, 231. So I'm now almost out of the teens of the 200s. I'm at 213. We're like, come on, just a couple more pounds and we'll get in the ones of the 200s. And eventually, I'd like I still am on a journey. I don't want to say the exact numbers because that's a part of today's discussion of aha, that yes, I'm paying attention to it because it is a way to have objective data and for me to be able to kind of correlate how my body is understanding and responding in terms of what it's willing to release and what it still feels like it needs to hold. So that's more of what I look at it for. But yeah, I'm on the journey. So I feel good about it though. So from my highest weight, I guess I don't know, I guess I've lost almost 25 pounds about. But from since starting the GLP-1, closer to 18 pounds, like 17 and a half pounds. So, but my biggest ahas, like I said, I wrote down my notes because it was a lot and I want to make sure that I count everything. Um, the first one I want to discuss is because this was probably the most major one for me, and it's kind of been my focus of really clearly better understanding what's been happening here. And that is I really had an aha on just how my nervous system, just how dysregulated it was, way more dysregulated than I realized. I know we hear a lot about food noise, like when you hear GLP-1. And I don't want to talk about food noise because that's not the way that I'm understanding what my noise wasn't what I think I hear mostly online or what I've heard from most people, and not so much of food, like wanting food and not having those thoughts of wanting food. My noise prior, and I talked about this in previous videos, my noise was mainly analyzing everything. Just way too much time analyzing, way too much time thinking about. Take off my glasses for a moment. I'm going to put my glasses on when I need to look at my notes, but part of me kind of just wants to look without a glare. Way too much time thinking about how if I eat this, then I can't eat that. But if I eat this at this time, then I can eat this at that time. But next week, I'll try to eat this. That was my noise, the strategizing. And the GLP-1 has calmed that everlasting down. Okay. And so what I see is just how much more calm in general, my decision making feels. I don't know if other people would say, oh yeah, Kenya, you seem calmer. I wouldn't say that it's that because it was way more nuanced and it was way more subtle. So I don't think I don't think people maybe are experiencing me necessarily as calmer or whatever, but I am experiencing me way more calmer in my decision making and in my brain movement. And that was, I didn't think, I thought it was just about the food noise. I was prepared to hear that, but that's not, this is a mental health thing. I didn't realize that I really was as anxious as I was. And it's making me really, really curious about anxiety and how it's truly functioning for people for real. I mean, I know that we are saying it and I think we all feel it, but I don't know if we realize too just how much our bodies are doing this to try to keep up with those racing thoughts. And I feel my body saying, "Oh, girl, thank you, please." Like I can feel that. I literally can feel my body doing that. So that was I didn't know I was so dysregulated. I didn't know. I knew it was there, but I didn't know to the degree that being on this GLP-1, how it has really informed that. So that was a major aha. Like I'm like, wow, girl, you were dysregulated. And so I'm still working through, I'm still in process. But now that I know that's what that was, I can move with the understanding of yes, keep meditation, keep doing the grounding, keep creating space in your calendar and in your time. Keep taking that time that you need by yourself. Don't chase after this relationship. Don't chase after that situation. Don't chase anything, in fact, allow things to come to you. Make a calm decision or wait, give it a day, maybe wait a week, maybe wait a month. There's no hurry for this. That's what I mean by regulation. I'm gonna put this camera down a little bit. I didn't know I was so dysregulated because before it was like, oh, I gotta. That was the GLP-1. I see why it's being used also for mental health. People who are there is a sector that is more geared as a lower dosage to help people regulate the overactivity of their brain. And understand nervous system is brain. So that was a major one. Okay. That was a major one. The next one that I want to talk about is diet culture had me believing I had to micromanage everything. Now this is a thing. I thought that journaling, tracking, calculating, weighing was not diet culture. I thought that was what you just have to do if you want to lose weight or if you want to keep your weight, maintain your weight. I believed that. I fully supported that as a coach. This is a lifestyle of these are the things you do, you journal, you track, you that, blah, blah, da, 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 da. For me, I now understand that my body has been able to release this without doing any of those things. For me, I realized that was a part of my nervous system regulation to make me feel safe, to make me feel accomplished, to make me feel as though I was being responsible with how I was taking care of my body. And that has not been how I have been proceeding with this now weight loss. Now, I know many people will say, well, it's because GLP-1 is just doing it. There's a lot you still have to do. I do exercise, I move, my portions are a certain way. There's certain foods and the nutrition value of the foods, absolutely. So that my body recognizes it as food and does what it biochemically needs to do inside my body so that it can heal and repair and release. But all of those other analytics I was listening to, and I don't remember who it was because I listen to a lot of podcast shows, but most podcasts I listen to come from actual scientists and people who study things from a deeper level, maybe than just editorials. You know, they do published writing or whatever. I think it's important when you're studying something with the body that you hear both editorial, meaning commentary, but also really understand the science because the body is an extremely exquisite science thing. And I believe spirituality is an exquisite science. I do. That's my beliefs, y'all. You don't have to agree with me, okay? You don't have to agree. So I take the science of who we are, our purpose, and how our bodies are interconnected with our souls and our minds. That's very serious to me. Like that's the courses I teach to students and the work I do is about how these things connect and how they impact each other. And so I didn't realize that when I'm doing all of that tracking and stuff, that's more a normative or a conditioning that I was made to believe that I had to do to make sure I was being responsible with how I was approaching weight management. But the fact that I'm not doing any of those things and I am using another energy made me kind of question diet culture. And I was listening to a podcaster who was kind of explaining that, in fact, that's a part of it, but it's so subtle, we don't always recognize it. So that was interesting for me. And that I didn't realize, and I'm not saying, I think that tracking is very helpful to keep your to feel a sense of safety and control. I do. But I do want us all to understand that it isn't the thing that makes you lose weight. It's the thing that emotionally is creating some sense of security and a sense of time. That's how I see it. I'm not saying that's law. That's how I see it for myself. That's what was really happening, as opposed to I was losing weight because I was tracking. I felt more in control that way, or I felt more aware that way, right? So that kind of needs its own video because it's kind of lengthy and I don't know if I'm explaining it entirely right, but I think that there are parts of things that diet culture isn't just about, oh, starve yourself or you can only eat this and not eat that. I wonder if some of the other tools and the other things that we have believed we had to do, if that's really what we had to do, or if that's a mechanism that we've just adopted that wasn't necessarily tied to an outcome. For me, that those things were a part of my nervous system dysregulation because I felt like I had to analyze this and turn it into a project in a way that kept me always on edge and running. And that's what made me say, okay, I have to shift that. That's a deep one. I probably gonna have a lot of people disagree with me with that because I know that that's very much how we are very ingrained. And I don't know. Maybe just think about it. Think about it. You know, it- I thought that my health had to feel like a full-time job, and I realized no, I can trust my body. I can trust my body more, and I need to allow that. Um, the other aha, and this is my third one, hormones matter more than I ever appreciated. Oh my gosh. Each of these ahas need their own episode, okay, or own video. But I just want to say this, and I wrote this down, so I'm going to kind of read this. Midlife changes are real. Menopause, perimenopause conversations are necessary. Why eat less, move more isn't enough when you're in a hormonal predicament. And that understanding the biological changes that are, excuse me, actually happening in our bodies. Now, this is where the science gets real. And one of the things that I have been really attempting to try to explain to people, I see GLP-1 and my understanding in terms of the science of it is our bodies naturally make GLP-1s. Okay, it's a natural part of it. And for some people, those who are living with and navigating obesity, that mechanism that there's a lack of or it's not functioning right, something is awry there with the natural GLP-1 process. And so by taking the GLP-1, it's essentially a supplement to supplement what is there so that hormonally the body resets itself in an effort to be more efficient and in alignment. Okay. If you don't know hormonally what's happening in your body, then you'll have no awareness of a lot of things. You won't know the root. You'll just think one thing when it may be another thing. Understand this, GLP-1s were created decades ago to address a metabolic hormonal issue with people who have diabetes. It was not created to lose weight. That's not what a GLP-1 was created for. I know it feels like that's what it was because that's all you hear in the news. That's not it. It was created by scientists and physicians in the medical community to address the diabetic problem and the process, which is an autoimmune and metabolic disorder. Okay. They realized, and I'm not going because I'm not here, but basically with the GLP-1, that metabolic process was improved. And so what was happening years ago, 20 years when they first, over 20 years now, when they first introduced this, patients were losing weight in addition to having their blood glucose levels improving. And it was like, and it wasn't like patients were like, they were like, what you doing to lose the weight? They're like, I'm not doing that. I mean, you gave me this GLP-1, so I'm not losing weight. And so the weight loss was a byproduct, is what they started to see. Oh, so you mean weight is not what's causing the diabetes? Like we've all been told? No, there's a dysfunction going on in the metabolic situation that's then therefore causing the diabetes and the weight gain. Understanding that was for me. Oh, I got a metabolic issue going on in me. No, I'm not diabetic. No, I don't. I'm not yet. But I am in perimenopause and my hormones are doing something very different. And I have had some other situations like a foot that started swelling when I was 19 years old out of the blue and had no idea why. And nobody has ever been able to tell me why. I've taken every single test, every single thing. And it wasn't until I take the GLP-1 that the swelling is now more controlled. I realized something metabolically is happening in my body. So I'm also doing some other hormonal things to address the whole menopausal life. And I think that combination, and from what I'm understanding and studying, it's really working together to allow my body to feel more like my body. and to operate more efficiently. So that was a big aha, massive, massive aha for me, massive. And so that brings me to I feel like I'm living inside my body again, less inflammation, less joint pain, less resistance to wanting to move because of all of those things, and feeling more connected to my body instead of fighting my body. Huge, massive. Like that's it. I felt like I was on the battlefield, being a warrior, like for this body, tracking everything, trying to exercise, trying to push myself, trying to eat the right things. And my body was just like, man, you are, we ain't doing nothing for you, girl, because that ain't the root. That ain't the root. We know you like carrots. We know you like veggies. We know you eat whole foods, and that's wonderful. And it is helping us tremendously. Please keep doing that. And there's another issue going on. So I realized that I had more of a metabolic, or I have more of a metabolic situation going on. And for me, because I do study holistically, I know that means that some emotions that I am carrying, some stories that from childhood and from my life are stored up in my body because I haven't processed fully a lot of things that my body said, hey, we'll take it on so that you can survive and so that you can go do all the things you dream of doing. But understand, one day we hope that you will start to come back home to those emotions, to those suppressed stories, to those suppressed fears and pains so that we could fully release them. I see it now. I see it now. So, getting back in touch and reconnected with my body has given me more motivation to want to talk to more people about what is happening in their bodies, and that it's not just about what you ate or what exercise you did. It's about something way deeper. And I'm going to continue that. I'm just kind of foreshadowing that right now, but I have gained a whole new passion. I've always had a passion for health, which hence why I was in the health field. But now I have a deeper passion on really how much the mind is constantly in this interplay with the body. And how, in fact, if I can identify this particular emotion, I, in fact, can relieve this particular condition in my body. So I'm gonna get more in that later. The last thing I want to say, my last biggest aha is that weight loss wasn't the biggest win. It hasn't been the biggest win. For me, the bigger wins by far the regulated nervous system, the reduced inflammation. I still have some inflammation, so I'm still in progress and in process. The energy, the bandwidth, more of that, my greater peace with food, just not feeling so stressed out about food, still being aware, still being mindful, and really looking at the nutrition value of food and the consumption portion of food, but not that food is out to get me, you know? Um, and ultimately, just this better relationship with myself. And I know when I talk to other people who are on GLP-1s, and I've talked to a number of people, we share a similar sentiment from those who I've talked to in terms of this feeling more connected to self, feeling more, being more aware of the things that were the barriers for whatever, because I think everybody is different. I'm just talking about my journey. But I think that it's important for these conversations to happen and not let it just be about weight loss, because weight loss is, yes, it's important. And it was what kind of got us to the table, or got me, let me speak in I statements, got me to the table. And that is kind of a metaphor, or not a metaphor, but it's I think that is the is that what gets us to the table. And I've learned this doing, the kind of work that I do with clients at this point in my career. I do hard work, meaning this stuff, being willing to change your life, being willing to change your mind so that you can actually have something different, that ain't for punks. That's hard. It's hard. It's a lot of work because there's a lot in the world. There's so much that is contrary to it. There's so much conditioning, and I have to spend more time when I work with clients and students and anyone who's doing developmental work unlearning than learning. It's hard. Okay. And so doing this kind of transformational work takes a lot of time. And if you don't have a certain relationship with yourself, it's very difficult to do that work. And one of the things that I've learned is that I have to meet people where they are and where they believe they are, because whatever glasses they are wearing about their life is the reality that they are seeing, even though it may be a very different reality than what I see or what I intuitively feel. So I can't meet people based on what I think. I have to meet people where they believe they are, because that's how we get into change. And so a lot of times, one of my most challenging parts of doing the work that I do is helping people get to the roots, because they will believe that it's something else that's going on, when in fact, there's another story that's happening simultaneously. It's not, listen, I needed to lose weight, period. I still need to continue this journey for sure. But I wouldn't have understood all these ahas. It was the dangling carrot, was the weight gain, was the inflammation, was the joint pain. That's what got my attention. And so I will wrap up by saying this. All of us have multiple stories happening at the same time. There are some that are more in our consciousness. There are some that are too big, scary, fearful, overwhelming that we push down. But the ones that are too big, fearful, overwhelming, and pushed down, a lot of times are driving the car of a lot of things. And so meeting ourselves where we are, having relationship with ourselves deeply, allows us to more authentically go in those darker spaces so that we can start doing the real alignment work. And so I hope that by telling these things, something resonates. And if you're not on a GLP-1 journey, and that's not your story, you don't need that, so that you can be more sensitive to those who that is their story. I want you to hear it, not just anecdotally about weight loss. I want you to understand that there is a science. Now, there's cardiovascular benefits, obviously, with this, obviously the metabolic. So there's a lot more physiological things that are happening. And then again, the byproduct is weight loss. But the mental health of it all is a really critical, important part, because our mental health is a lot of times what has driven our nervous systems to be off in the first place, to therefore now cause this disruption, I think, in our bodies. This is very deep. I cannot talk about all of it in this one video. There's more work that I want to do to help this conversation about our bodies, particularly as women and particularly as Black women, because as Black women, we are the least researched, the least understood. I have kind of a joke, which I don't like that it's a joke, but when I have friends or family that are Black women who say, I went to the doctor, they said everything's fine, and I know everything's not. I'm like, oh, you got Black women disease. And I say that to say, there's so much of our stories, our untold stories that nobody knows about. Therefore, nobody knows what's really happening in our bodies. And I feel very led to start more conversations so that we can know more. So that's my update. I would love to do monthly updates. So I'll see if I can do that. But like I said, stay tuned though, because I do post shorts, mostly astrology shorts, but I think maybe I should do some more shorts on some other things so that I can just stay connected here on YouTube. But I'm in process. And so when I'm going through something, I want to be able to share while processing. So just give me a little bit of time. Okay. But if you like this, make sure you like it and share it. Share it. If somebody you know needs to hear it, share 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 it. Subscribe, all the things. If you are a woman and you're needing more support and want to hear, I have a weekly podcast where I talk about healing and evolution and expansion and self-care and all of that's called the She Podcast. If you go to patreon.com/finding your voice, you can listen to it. Right now it is running completely open to the public. Eventually, though, you will need to at least subscribe to the Patreon site. You can subscribe for free so that you can get the access to the podcast episode. It is intended for women. And then the paying communities are for those of you who want to go deeper and who need more guidance. And if my style energy is one that you feel connected to or want to connect to, then I highly recommend you investigate that membership because you have more access to me. So, all right. Y'all be good. Take care. And I hope to talk to you more soon. All right. Take care.